The former Colombian president, Juan Manuel Santos, is a member of the Global Commission on Drug Policy. He joins us via Skype from Bogota. Tell me, initially, do you recommend anything specifically linked with the outbreak, the coronavirus outbreak? Are there specific measures that you think should be put into place now?
Well, I think this pandemic offers us some opportunities to get more intelligence about how the drug market and the drug dealers, and especially the criminal organizations, work. So there's a specific target there. Another thing that I think would be very important is that this pandemic should convince us to be much more conscious of giving facts and the scientific world and the evidence more importance. If you do that, then you can be much more effective, for example, in the war against drugs or in the fight against climate change. Evidence-based, scientific-based decisions.
Tell me, one of the things you recommend is trying to track the financial networks of the criminals involved in this. Surely governments are doing that anyway, aren't they?
But they're not doing that enough. I had the experience because I've been fighting drug trafficking almost all my professional life, and there has been an improvement, but not enough. You still have, I will give you a specific example. You still have the drug lords using the sale of gold, of illegal gold, as a way to launder their money. And when you ask many countries to regulate, to control where this gold comes from, they're not very cooperative. So there's still a long way to go.
What about the lawyers who protect some of the kind of elites in the drugs world? You suggest going after them. How practical is that?
Well, there are many lawyers that take advantage of the loopholes in the law and also have tremendous influence with the people who protect the big fish, the big drug lords. And they know that they are defending people who are creating tremendous damage to the world. So to try to go after them would also be to close one of the loopholes that we have in the war on drugs.
What about the people in prison at the moment? I understand that your suggestion is that a lot of the people who are in prison are the kind of the low-level people in the drugs world, and you're suggesting that perhaps they should be released. How receptive are governments generally to that idea?
Not very receptive, because it's very popular in politics, and I'm a politician, to be a hardliner. Repression is very popular politically. And to have an approach of being more lenient with consumers of drugs and petty drug dealers is not a very popular idea. But what we're seeing, for example, in Colombia, or almost in every country today in the world, is the prisons are overcrowded. The pandemic is affecting the prisons more than any other place. And what you see is that between 20 and 25% of the prisoners of the world are in jail for crimes related to drugs, but non-violent crimes. These people should not be in jail. These people should be outside jail.
Tell me, on the public health side of things, what do you think needs to be done to try to discourage people from taking drugs? I mean, in the past, perhaps advertising campaigns haven't necessarily worked. Sometimes they've backfired. What's your advice now on the public health side of this?
Well, the drug business today is worth around $625 billion. If governments take control and take away from the mafias the control of this trade, they can invest part of that money in more effective campaigns to convince people not to use drugs, as it has been done with the cigarettes and in other cases. So what we think is much more effective and practical is to take away this huge amount of money that is going to the organized crime and is used by the governments to try to convince people not to take drugs, among other campaigns.
Juan Manuel Santos, former Colombian president and member of the Global Commission on Drug Policy, thank you very much indeed for talking to us on Al Jazeera.